Egypt-UK diplomatic crisis. Stop scrolling right now. What happened in Cairo yesterday morning is going to completely change how you understand diplomatic relations between Egypt and Britain. In less than 24 hours, a situation that's been building for over 20 years just exploded into the open, and the implications are staggering. Here's what you need to know. On August 31st, 2025, Egyptian authorities removed concrete security barriers that had protected the British Embassy in Cairo's Garden City district for more than 2 decades. Within hours, Britain responded by shutting down their embassy's main building. But this isn't just about some concrete barriers being moved. This is about a fundamental shift in how Egypt deals with Western powers. And it all started with what happened to one Egyptian activist in London. Let me take you behind the scenes of what really triggered this diplomatic earthquake. Last week, while protests were happening outside the Egyptian embassy in London, a young Egyptian activist named Ahmed Abdel Qader was arrested by British police. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Abdel Qader wasn't protesting against Egypt. He was actually defending the embassy from protesters who were demanding Egypt open the Rafah border crossing with Gaza. The arrest was captured on video, and what you see is shocking. British police physically restraining an Egyptian citizen who was literally trying to protect his own country's embassy. Meanwhile, the actual protesters who were disrupting embassy operations, they were left alone. This created a massive outcry in Egypt, with officials calling it a clear example of Britain's double standards. But here's what most media outlets are missing. This incident exposed something much bigger than just poor policing decisions. For over 20 years, these concrete barriers around the British Embassy in Cairo have been a constant reminder of an unequal relationship. These weren't just security measures. They were symbols of special privileges that Western embassies enjoyed in Egypt. The barriers blocked entire streets in Garden City, affecting local residents' daily lives. Imagine living in your own country, but not being able to use certain streets because a foreign embassy needs extra protection. Streets like Tawfiq Diab Street, formerly known as Latin America Street, were completely closed to Egyptian citizens in their own capital. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati made this point crystal clear when he contacted Britain's National Security Advisor directly. The message was simple. If you can't protect our embassy properly in London, why should we provide special protection for yours in Cairo? Here's what they don't want you to understand. This is about the principle of reciprocity in international relations. Egypt just sent a message that it's no longer willing to accept unequal treatment from Western powers. The removal of these barriers wasn't random. It was a calculated diplomatic response based on established international law. According to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, host countries are required to protect foreign embassies. But here's the key. This protection should be equal and reciprocal. When Britain failed to adequately protect Egypt's embassy in London while arresting the Egyptian citizen who was defending it, Egypt responded by adjusting the level of protection it provides to Britain's embassy in Cairo. This isn't unprecedented. Britain itself has used this same principle multiple times. In 2007, after the poisoning of Alexander Litvinenko, Britain expelled 4 Russian diplomats. In 2018, following the Sergei Skripal case, Britain expelled 23 Russian diplomats, calling it a proportionate and appropriate response. So when Egypt applies the same diplomatic principle, why is this being portrayed as unusual or aggressive? What we're witnessing is Egypt's emergence as a more assertive regional power that refuses to accept outdated colonial-era treatment. The timing is crucial. This is happening while Egypt plays a central role in Gaza ceasefire negotiations, making it clear that Egypt won't be pressured or intimidated in its diplomatic relations. This episode is sponsored by Pharaoh Code Channel. This channel is one of the best channels that presents documentaries about lost civilizations, ancient Egyptian civilization, the strangest things that have happened throughout the ages, archaeological discoveries that have amazed everyone, and also paranormal sciences. It is truly an amazing channel. I advise you to visit it and watch the content it offers. I will leave you the channel link in the description box and in the first pinned comment. Now let's get back to our episode. So, let's go.
The economic implications are significant too. Britain is Egypt's largest foreign investor, with trade worth approximately £5 billion in the first quarter of 2025 alone. Yet Egypt was willing to risk this relationship to make a point about equal treatment and mutual respect. This sends a message to all Western governments. The days of demanding special privileges while providing unequal treatment are over. Egypt has alternatives. Growing relationships with China, Russia, and other BRICS nations mean it's no longer dependent on Western approval or investment. The British Embassy's response reveals their calculation perfectly. They didn't completely shut down operations. They kept emergency services running and maintained diplomatic functions. This suggests they understand Egypt's message and are trying to find a middle ground without appearing to back down completely. But this crisis opens bigger questions about the future of Egypt-UK relations. Planned strategic partnership announcements and investment conferences are now in jeopardy. The scheduled visit by the British Prime Minister to Cairo later this year might be postponed or cancelled entirely. More importantly, this sets a precedent. Other countries watching this situation will see that Egypt successfully used diplomatic reciprocity to demand equal treatment. This could inspire similar actions across the global South, where many nations have grown tired of Western double standards. The real winner here might be Egypt's position in the broader Middle East, by standing up to Britain while maintaining legal and diplomatic protocols. Egypt demonstrates that it can defend its interests without backing down or escalating to dangerous levels. What happens next will depend on whether Britain is willing to acknowledge the principle of reciprocal treatment, or if they'll continue viewing their relationship with Egypt through outdated colonial lenses. Either way, the message is clear. Egypt is no longer accepting unequal partnerships, regardless of economic consequences. The age of automatic Western privilege in Egypt appears to be ending, and this concrete barrier removal in Garden City might just be the beginning of a much larger transformation in how Middle Eastern countries engage with their former colonial powers.